I played Mortal Shell, which was that Souls-like that came out a while ago.
How much of it did you play? I played about 3 hours and was like, yeah, okay.
I went further than that. Uh, I played about 5 or so hours, and I have to say that like it helps that like I came across the stuff that I like. I think I was very lucky with like how I moved forward into that because like I touched it a little bit before doing the stream, and I think first of all, so it's a Souls-like type of game. It's a mini, much shorter experience according to how long to beat, anyways. The main thing I think that it's distinct with is that the way you block is not a shield, but it is a hardening system in which you can turn your whole body to stone at any point while you're on the offense. And I thought that was interesting because that allows you to basically, instead of blocking, choose when to give yourself armor or iframes and then keep your combo going if you want to, right? Keep your momentum. So it's a more advanced usage of defense. It's pretty interesting. And then there's the parry, which is how you heal. Otherwise, healing things are all really slow, life gem style things. So it's like, okay, I like that sort of, hey, you're gonna need to learn how to do these things properly. You're not gonna get an easy heal by backing off and sipping. So they the idea being, of course, you're probably a Souls veteran if you're coming over to this game and taking a look at it. So they know their audience. The first area is this forest, and it is not great. I don't like the forest area.
It's the hub.
Yeah, and that was an initial, like, basically I was like, if I didn't find my way out of the forest, I would have had a very negative impression of this game. And it's a really bad starting zone to put you in, seeing as it's like the most winding and the most confusing, and also like it just you're wandering off in any direction, but it's hitting you. It's a lot of sameness in a bad way. I just really like that first area.
All the enemies in that hub are boring. They're all bandits. They're all dudes.
And there's that one boss that's like sitting right there in front of your
one's cool.
Your Firelink building. This is Mortal Shell, and the idea behind the Mortal Shell is that you're possessing different dead bodies of, like, I guess, important characters, and they are your builds. Instead of picking a class, you inhabit the shell of a body of a class that's already set, and each build has, really varying stats and things, but you don't really see a stat sheet. You don't see a whole bunch of numbers. You kind of just get a simple, like, stamina, MP, and HP, essentially, endurance, HP, and yeah. So that first area was just like, oof, but then I wandered into, well, so I beat that boss that was right outside, and then I wandered around and I got another shell right away, and then I wandered into a beautiful area that was just gorgeous art-wise.
Oh, really? I have not. I played that for an afternoon, and I saw the forest, and I saw like a temple, and it was just like a black version of the forest.
So I wandered. There's an obsidian temple, and
yeah, that's where I ended up.
Did you go past it?
No.
Okay, so there's a tough boy standing at the door, and then you beat him, and then you walk outside, and you're in this beautiful obsidian landscape of like rocks, and it's awesome. It's a very nice looking level, and it was also an area of like, ooh, this looks late game. This looks like I shouldn't be here yet. And the shell that I picked up right outside the door to this temple was like massive HP bar, late game looking kind of find, but I found it, stumbled quickly over there. So I was like, okay, before I go wandering into this like, really cool looking area, let's just backtrack. And so I did. Went back into the forest, which, like I said, like, it was lame. And then from that forest, I found the second dungeon, which is catacombs, and the
Mhm.
catacombs are almost identical to Souls One catacombs. Like you're turning through these little corridors. Instead of skeleton men, you're fighting like these like little like fish zombos that like tackle you, and then some other aggressive types, And then you take it all the way through the catacombs to a snow area. That was pretty cool. And at the end of that snow area, you come across a boss fight, which is Tarsus is the name of the boss, and he's skating around and throwing his sword on you fight in a giant ice area, and he slides around on the ice doing big, fast like swings and stingers at you, and it was cool. So I think the first area is a bad impression that improves upon like getting out of there, getting new shells, getting that parry ability to parry and heal, and then fighting some of the other bosses. But
Mhm.
they really should not have put that forest as your default hub.
And it's the one you're going to be spending the most time in because you on the way to each of the. I think there's 4 areas. Like it's the one you're going to be
You got to
trekking
run back
backwards and
to.
forwards the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, currently I'm running back towards it because I have to give like a gland to the prisoner that you meet upstairs. But yeah, I can see that like and from what I understand is it's a small team as well. So people have been describing that it's like a very small team put it together. So you're going to run into the problems that come with that, and there were some jank ass moments that certainly occurred and some bugs. There's one or two QA tests. But yeah, I think I think it's all right. I need to I need to say though that like the trailer gave me the impression that I was going to be fighting a series of bosses with
No.
short zones in between, and that's not at all what it turned into. It turned into very few bosses and mostly zone.
Yeah.
I in fact like, yeah, I just because the initial trailer just was like a bunch of 1v1 fights in a big open space, and I was kind of like, oh, cool, okay, I'm down for a boss rush focused Souls like, and it turned out to be not that. It's very zone centric. I've only fought like one optional boss and then two optional bosses and one like major cutscene type boss.
You know, I think probably the thing that bummed me out the most of that game, and I can appreciate them going for it, is just like, particularly because you spend so much time in that early forest, is like, I don't know if it's the way the art assets are or if it's color filter, but like it is like the total range of color on any one area is like 50 hex points from the top to the bottom. Like that forest is green.
And the
Every
dudes are
person in the
green. Yeah,
every
yeah.
person in the forest is green. The sky is green. Your character being lit by it is green.
I
And
honestly,
it's
I
fucking wild.
I honestly like I can't stress enough that like to me like that improves in the other zones, and currently right now, for example, I walked through this blizzard ice area, took on a bunch of like ice Vikings and whatever's going on in that setting, and then and I fought the boss, and now on the way out, drastic art change, drastic lighting change. The forest, the ice area is now completely pitch black, and the only thing that is lighting everything is a really ominous, like almost like Doom 3-esque red light coming off of your body that has a very horror feel to it. That the backtrek through this zone has completely changed the feel of that area. It's it really comes down to that forest right now in my brain, as like you got to climb that wall and look over the other side of it, because there's some nice stuff over the wall, but it puts it right in your face. And I got lucky stumbling in the right direction twice. You
Oh,
know,
that's nice.
I stumbled into the first area, went, this is cool. I got a weapon for stuff there too. I got a hammer and chisel. So I
I like
also
that
got
hammer.
yeah, I'm like, cool, there's some combos you can do with the chisel and the 1-2 pop 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 pop. And then went the other way through the catacombs, got a base cannon, basically. It's essentially a fucking chaos Zweihander, and it's a big slow spin that shit around, charge it up, flatten whatever you touch with it kind of weapon. And that was enough like variety as well. So that was interesting. Um there's a thing to it that is uh I don't think I like this. I was wondering, it's a curious decision. It's like every time you pick up an item, you can familiarize with it for enhanced usage, which is awesome.
That and it gives you more like information about it as you keep using it.
Yes, the more you use it, the more you familiarize, the better the item is for you. I like that. However, when you first pick it up, you don't know what it does at all, and if it's a
Yeah.
rare item, you're going to waste it,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
So that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, if you're going to put a thing like that in, which is like, hey, you can't know until you know, you got to just go forward and discover it yourself. Let there be somewhere or some way in the game where you can go in and like inspect or uncover about the item before you consume something that's really valuable and really rare. I feel like that was something I was like, okay. At this, like, at first I was like, just use everything once and see what it says, and then it's kind of like, oh, or just pull the wiki up and read what it says there too, because that's a really good item. It'll like put you into the shell of one of the characters you're currently not inhabiting. Anyway, it's one of those simple things. Is just like, just use it and see what it does, and I'm sure that's an easy thing. But if you have a little of that FOMO and you're like, but that one though, like, it's not,
It's like it wouldn't be so bad, but like Mortal Shell I found was like pretty tough. So like if the game was like easy as piss, like the worry over using a rare item would be significantly diminished. But like it's pretty rough. Like
Yeah.
it beat me up pretty good.
And I did accidentally pop items that, like, I'm like, fuck, I wish I knew what that did beforehand. I wouldn't have done that, So, in any case, it's versus, and I see the direct comparison. For example, Binding of Isaac, right, where you just kind of walk into a random thing and then you're like, what the fuck does this do? And Binding of Isaac, I'd say, is like not on that level of challenging until like you press really further in and you get a randomized build as kind of the appeal of the game, versus here the randomized build is not at all what they're going for.
Binding of Isaac has like one of the most frustrating lack of information problems I've ever had in a game, where I streamed it a couple years ago and I'd be like, boss to drop an item and I go, oh cool, what's that item? And because the chat is 4 seconds behind, I have the item in my inventory before everybody goes, no, don't pick it up, no. And I find out that it's like, it's a trap item. It's like, it's so garbage that like I might as well end my run, because now my tears shoot in a zigzag and or some bullshit.
Thing is that to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that is the point of Isaac. It's a simple, basic game with so many fucking items that you can have infinite variations of builds. All right? I think it's applying randomness to what is otherwise a very basic, simple game. With roguelike or randomly generated rooms and such. If that's not the goal, and like you said, the difficulty's there, and then the game is kind of like, no, that was really handy, that was a really useful item, then if you want to have this sense of like you don't know what you picked up, then you can just add another layer to it, which is like maybe like take this to the right NPC and they can uncover that for you. Find the right blacksmith for this ember type of thing, because I found like a secret shop, for example, which was really cool. I was like, oh, that's nice, there's a secret shop here, and she sells 5 things that sound like they're really good. Some of them are very expensive, so they must be. But I have no fucking clue what they are or what they do or why I should care. So that whole shop is like, oh, that's a cool secret.
Don't worry about that until New Game Plus.
Yeah. So, but in any case, ultimately, I feel like it was cool, and I'm gonna go. I didn't say I was like at first I was like I don't know if I should go for a full LP on this because I don't know how it's gonna go. And by the end of that stream, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm liking this enough to come back to it. I'm having fun with it. But yeah, the decision on that first zone really, probably you're not the only one. I bet I'm sure there's a bunch of people that possibly would have hit that forest and went, I don't know about this. But
I don't know how to. Sorry, after you.
But the defensive mechanisms are very fun to play with.
I don't know how to feel about games like that, like Mortal Shell, and recently I didn't talk about it when I played it, but Pray for the Dead God, Pray for the Gods.
Yes.
Where they're jank, but like they're put together a lot better than you would expect for like a 3-4 person team.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my heart, I'm like, wow, this is impressive. And I think that they did a really good job. Now, excuse me while I turn it off and never play it again.
Okay.
Right? And it's this
that's how you
thing where
feel.
it's like, is it fair to compare Mortal Shell to like Dark Souls 3? Yeah, probably not. But they're both games I have on my hard drive right now.
Mm-hmm. I think that you can't. What you should consider basically with the size of the team is how much polish can be expected in a lot of cases. But then when there's things that are like, well, that's not a question of polish, that's just a design decision. Then that's then I'd be like, no, I disagree with that design. So something that like for example is just like it was a decision, and I guess I didn't really like it that much. I didn't realize when you do a corpse run, you turn back into the character, into the shell that you died as. And that wasn't immediately initially apparent to me. So so I think at one point I used an item to turn into a different character, and I had one consumable of that item that was like my stronger character that I liked, and then I ran by my corpse and picked up my souls, so to speak. And collecting the process of my souls also turned me back into a character I didn't want to be. And I was like, oh, but I just want to get my resources back. I don't want to, let the bloodstain disappear, so to speak, and lose all that stuff. But I also didn't want to lose the character I was inhabiting, So, anyway, that's not a question of polish. That's just that's a design decision that I disagree with, and I think it's fair to be like, yeah, I didn't like that part, Anyway, but it was interesting enough that I'm gonna see it through and see what's going on with it. So we'll be coming back to that as well during the week. Right now, Silent Hill and Mortal Shell being the two things we're doing.